Hello class. Today we are going to study about the anatomy of flowering plant. What is anatomy? Anatomy is the study of the internal organization of any living organism. So means the branch of the biology which deals the internal organization, or we can see it is a tissue system of any living organism, is known as anatomy. And histology is the technique that is study of the tissues and tissue system in any multicellular organism. So in histology we have to study about all the tissues and tissue system. Now come to the tissue in case of the plant kingdom. What is tissue? Tissue is the group of cell having the common origin and common function. Means that a group of cell performing the same function and same origin is known as the tissue. In case of the plant tissue, we find that there is two kind of tissue is found in the plant. One is the meristematic tissue, which have power of cell division lifelong, and another is known as a permanent tissue. In case of the permanent tissue, we will study about the simple permanent tissue, means a same type of group of cell performing the function, and it is of three types: parenchyma, collenchyma, and sclerenchyma. In complex permanent tissues, the tissues have many different types of cells associated together to form a tissue. So complex structure here, and xylem and phloem, two basic conduction tissue is found in case of the plant. The three basic types of plant tissues are parenchyma tissue, collenchyma tissue, and sclerenchyma tissue. These are known as the basic permanent tissues. You can see in this structure, in case of the parenchyma tissue, you can see here intercellular spaces are found, means the space is found in between the cells. Whereas in the collenchyma, their cell wall is compactly arranged, and in case of the sclerenchyma tissues, the cell wall is filled with a liquid that is called the lignin, and due to the deposition of this lignin in the lumen, in the cavity, lumen means the cavity of the cell become very, very hard, and it is known as the cell fibers, or sometimes it is also called the stone cells. So in the case of the meristematic tissues, the cell have power of division throughout the life, means it have power of cell division is found in the whole life of the plant kingdom. Main characteristic of this meristematic tissues are that these cells are very thin walled, means the outer covering is very thin in case of the meristematic tissue, and very abundant cytoplasm is found inside these cells, and they have retained the power of division. So no loss of power of division in case of the meristematic tissues, and no intercellular spaces is there, means very compactly arranged type of tissues are meristematic tissues. In this picture you can see the position of the meristematic tissues is found in case of the plant. So with the help of the section, we find that the stem apex and the root tip, these apex side and the root tips is having these enormous number of the meristematic tissues, the tissue responsible for the cell division lifelong. So the shoot and root apex will grow continuously in case of the plant kingdom due to the presence of these tissues in that area. On the basis of the position of this meristems, means meristematic tissues, where it is found inside the plant body, it is classified into number one is the apical meristems that occurs at the apex, means the tip of the plant, means in the root tip and the shoot tip, and it is differentiated into the primary tissues also. So first division tissues is known as the primary tissues. So it is differentiated and it causes the increase in the length of the plant shoot and plant root. Sometimes the axillary buds are present at the axis of the leaves. It also bears these meristematic tissues. When this axillary bud fall off, the next branch is coming out from that position and from that area. This is the apex region. You can find here number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4 and number 5. These are the zones. Number 1, the zone of division. Tissue is going to divide and divide and divide with the help of the mitosis cell division. Then it is going to be differentiated into these tissues. Then again it is going to be matured areas, and after that when the cells is mature, it lost the power of division. In the second position where the meristems is found, number 1 was the apicals and number 2 is the lateral. Lateral means the side by side. Lateral meristems is there that arrange parallel to the side of the organ of the plant. In any organ of the plants, either it may be shoot or root or leaves or any other organ of the plant, it is found parallel on that either side of that organ. So cells produced by them, that is differentiated into the secondary tissues. That first one was the primary tissues. Then again when it is going to be divided, it is known as the secondary tissue. It also causes in the development in the increasing in the width of the plant organ. Due to this lateral meristems, the plant is going to increase in the width also. And the important meristems of this lateral side is known as fascicular cambium and sometimes cork cambium also. These are the lateral meristems. You can see here a plant is there, and if we are going to cut the transverse section of the plant, you can see here the outer surface. The outer surface having the cork and cork cambium is there, and after that the fascicular cambium is also there. Fascicular cambium tissues is also there. They are all known as the vascular cambium because they are vascular tissues. They are known as the conduction tissues because it is associated with the vascular bundle. Vascular bundle means the association of xylem and phloem. So in these area, these tissues is found, responsible to increase the girth of the plant shoot. The third position of the meristems is the intercalary. Intercalary is that position when meristematic tissues occur in between the mature or in the permanent tissues. In between means if a mature tissue or permanent tissue is there, this tissue is found in between that permanent tissues. Permanent tissues have lost the power of division after the maturity. So in between these permanent tissues or mature tissues, some meristem and meristems are found for the cell division. This is known as the intercalary meristems. It is also produced from the primary tissues, and it causes in the increase in the length of the plant. It occurs at the base of the internode and leaf seat also. In case of the monocots, like in the case of grasses, grass plant or monocot plant, they regenerate the part removing by the grazing animals. Sometimes if there is an animal is going to grazing or graze out that grasses, so it have generate the part again and again, so it have power of regeneration there. You can see in this picture, this is the monocot stem. And in case of the monocot stem, in the intercalary meristems is found near the reddish area is there. In between the two nodes, the position is known as the internodes. Two nodes is there. The mid position is known as the internode, or near the internode, the intercalary meristems is found, which is known as the zone of elongation, responsible for the elongation of the stem in case of the monocot plant. Now, based on the origin, this promeristems is found in a group of meristematic tissues in case of the embryo also, and sometimes it is also found in the seedling. Seedling are those plant which is developed from the seed, and and again it is going to be divide in form of the plant also, or generate in form of the plant also. So these tissues are found in the embryo as well as seedling also, and it give rise to the primary meristems also. So based on the origin, the promeristems is there. You can see the protoderms or promeristems in this picture. This is the outer covering, the outer areas of the any plant tissues, and near the side by side a very dark shades, a compactly arranged tissue is there, that is protoderm, or the covering. It is found the covering tissues near the outer surface of any plant part or plant tissues. Second is the primary meristems. So after the promeristems, second is one is the primary meristems, and the primary meristems is formed from the promeristems. That cell produced by them differentiate into the primary, secondary, permanent tissues. Differentiation means after the cell division, the cell is going to differentiate into the different types of tissue. That tissue may be primary tissue, the tissue may be secondary tissue, or sometimes the tissue is called the permanent tissue after the cell division. For example, it is apical meristems found on the apex region, fascicular cambium in between these vascular bundle, and intercalary meristems near the internode. So in case of the tissue system of the root, we find that apical meristems is found near the root cap. Root cap is that hard position which is responsible to penetrate the hard to hardest soil in case of the root system. And if we are going to study these meristems, we find that the ground tissues area, that is known as the cortex. Dermal means the outer covering, that is epidermal, and in between them they are known as the vascular tissues. Vascular tissues are basically phloem and xylem that are responsible for the conduction of the water, minerals, and photosynthesis also. So in case of the dermal, there is the epidermal, and in this region very fine hair like structure that is known as the root hair regions, and root hairs are responsible for the absorption of minerals and water from the soil. So in case of the periderms, the root hair regions when slows off, there is found is the procambium and cork-cambium also. So procambium tissues are found in between the phloem and xylem in case of the vascular bundle, as well as in between the epidermis and periderms there is a cork-cambium is present. Cork, it is of two types, one is the phellum and another is the phalloderms. So due to this phellum, phalloderms, procambiums, cork-cambiums, the secondary growth is found in the plant. Means the plant is going to increase in the girth of that circumference area of any plant tissues, or you can find a plant is growing in case of the dicot root. The secondary meristems is formed at a later stage, means after in the life of the plants later stage, the permanent tissues that process by the dedifferentiation. Now the question is, what is dedifferentiation? Actually, dedifferentiation is a phenomena when dedifferentiated that a cell can regain its capacity for the cell division. Means there is a loss of the cell division capacity after the cell is going to be divided into different types of tissues. Again, if it regain its capacity under certain conditions, then this phenomena is known as the dedifferentiation. And after that, when the dedifferentiated plant cell once again loses its capacity to divide, it becomes mature, and the phenomena is called the redifferentiation. So there is the two phenomena, dedifferentiation and redifferentiation. In dedifferentiation, the tissues regain the capacity of cell division, and in case of the redifferentiation, the tissue lose their capacity to divide and become the mature. So in the dedifferentiation conditions, the cork cambium and interfascicular cambium is formed by the secondary meristems. These are the vascular cambium. It is found between the phloem and xylem tissues and responsible to increase the girth of the plant. Vascular cambium. Now come to the permanent tissues. The second group of the tissue in case of the plant kingdom is known as the permanent tissue. The cell have lost the power of cell division. After that, it becomes the structurally and functionally specialized. means each tissues or cells is responsible to do a particular function and particular structure also. So these tissues are known as the permanent tissues. What are the basic characteristics of these permanent tissues? That cell have lost the power of cell division, means totally lost of the power of cell division. When the cell, it is known as the permanent tissue, and it undergoes the differentiation into the specific type of a particular function also. On basis of these tissues, how many types of cells are present over there, we know that the group of cell performing the function is known as the tissue. So if one type of cell is there, the composition of only one type of cell is there, then this tissue is known as the simple permanent tissue. But if tissue is composed of more than one type of cells, it is known as the complex permanent tissue. So permanent tissues are of two types. Simple permanent tissues, permanent tissues, that is the parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma, and in case of the complex permanent tissues, the two tissues, that is the xylem and phloem. In case of the simple permanent tissues, number one is the parenchyma. Parenchyma is very, very important tissue. That cells are very thin walled, isodiametric, means cell have a definite diameter, and it retains the capacity to divide at the maturity. That no intercellular space is there, and its main function is the storage. The food is formed by the process of photosynthesis is going to be stored inside of the parenchyma tissue. When parenchyma cells contain a number of chloroplasts is there inside their tissue, they become photosynthetic in nature, and they are called the chloroenchyma. And when they are arranged with a regular system of the intercellular air spaces, in case of the plant which is found inside the water, so it needs to develop the buoyancy. So these tissues are known as the aerenchyma, means when air is filled in the cavity of parenchyma, it is known as aerenchyma, and when chlorophyll is filled for the process of photosynthesis in the parenchymatous tissue, it is known as the chlorenchyma, and forms major component of any organ of the plant. So this is the major component, parenchymatous tissues. This is the typical structure of parenchyma tissues, that is having the larger volume nucleus is there, same size, and with a very thin primary cell wall. The vacuole is developed, means empty spaces is there, and intercellular space is still isodiametric, means same diameter is there. That is basic biochemistry, and it is also, these cells are known as the filler cells. So it can fill the entire cavity, entire area of plant tissue. Second type of tissue, simple tissue, is known as the collenchyma. So collenchyma, the cell living at maturity, means it is a living cell. It is also a living cell just like the parenchyma, and the cells are variously shapes, means not isodiametric, not a single type of shape, different type of shape is there, and cell wall is unevenly thickened, means somewhere is thin, somewhere is thick. It occurs below the epidermis, just after the epidermis of any dicot stem, and its cell may possess sometimes of chloroplast also, so it becomes the responsible for the process of photosynthesis also. These collenchyma provide the strength and flexibility to the growing organ also. It provides a flexibility, so it is a very flexible tissue is there. Look at the picture. This is the entire collenchyma tissues just below the epidermis. You can find here the different shape and size, and if the chlorophyll is there, that is known for the responsibility of the photosynthesis also. Third tissue, that is known as the sclerenchyma. Sclerenchyma tissues are known as the dead tissue at the maturity, means when cell is become totally matured, it's become dead, and the cell wall is lignified evenly, means lignin is filled there, and it provide the mechanical support to any organ. So it is a very tough tissue, that's why it is provide the mechanical support, and it have two types of cells also. Two types of cell composed to form this sclerenchyma cell. One is known as the stone cells. Sclerites are known as the stone cells. At the stone cells are very common, that is oval shape, spherical shape, and sometimes having very thick cell wall and very narrow lumen. Lumen means cavity. Cavities inside these cells are very narrow and occur in a shell of the nuts, in case of the nuts, and sometimes in the pulp of fruits, in tea leaves also. Pulp of fruits means in the guava also, guava fruits. You can find in the pineapple also a very grittiness appearance in the pulp is found there. It is due to the presence of these stone cells. Second is type of these cells are fiber cells, and fiber cells are elongated and thick wall cells. Generally they occur in the group forms and present in the xylem, phloem and cortex and pericycle areas in case of the plant tissues. These tissues are the Collenchymatous tissue, very hard tissues. After maturity, it becomes the lignified and become the dead tissues. Next is the complex permanent tissues. The two tissues which is coming under this group, complex tissues, means having more than one type of cells are grouped there. And number one is the xylem, number two is the phloem. So xylem is formed, that is a continuous channel. Continuous channel means it is responsible for the conduction of the water and minerals. So it form a very continuous channel from root to the tip of the plant, and it concerned with the transport of water and minerals. It provide mechanical support also, and the composition having the four type of cells, that is the tertiary elements, xylem parenchyma and xylem fibers is there. So group of cells is there, and xylem vessels. First cell is known as the xylem vessels. It is a very long cylindrical tubular structure that formed by the many cells. First type, xylem vessels. End wall of the vessels members have either single large opening, sometimes perforations, means there is the perforatory tissues is there for the perforation purpose, and several small openings is there having very thick and lignified wall. The vessels are became the dead at the maturity and found in the angiospermic only. This xylem vessels is found on the angiosperms only. Here you can see the structure of the xylem tissue, that is the perforations you can found here, just like in sieve cells. Tracheids is there, so xylem vessels and xylem tracheids. Xylem fibers is there and xylem parenchyma is there. So four types of cells composed of in case of the xylem. In the phloem, you can see here the sieve tube, sieve plate, sieve area, companion cells is there, and sieve elements. Sieving elements means for the purpose of the filtration of the photosynthetes, which is formed by the process of photosynthesis. So phloem is responsible for the conduction of the photosynthetes. Xylem, second one is the xylem tracheids. First one was the xylem vessels, then second cell is known as the xylem tracheids. Xylem tracheids are elongated cell, very long appearance, and it overlap one another with their slanting ends are very slanting type, so do not have the perforation plates. No perforation plates is there in xylem tracheids, having very thick lignified wall, and after dead it is also maturity it became the dead cells. Xylem parenchyma, third one is the thick, very thin wall of the cellulose. Only living components of the xylems are involved in the short distance transportation. It is also help in the storage of the sugar, starch, lipid and tannin in plant tissues. These are the helical thickenings and bordered pits are present. Pits like appearance is found in the xylem vessels. The fourth is Collenchymatous tissue or cell is composed of the xylem fibers. It is a dead element and it provides the mechanical support. Xylem formed in primary plant by the procambium, it is called the primary xylem, and first is formed the primary xylem, it is protoxylem, then later it is called as a metaxylem. So two xylems is there, protoxylem and metaxylem. Two types of xylem tissues is there, and in stems the protoxylems lies towards the pith, means towards the center position, and metaxylem towards the periphery regions. Such arrangement is called the endar condition. If the protoxylem lies towards the pith and metaxylem towards the periphery, the arrangement condition of the xylem bundles are known as the end-arc condition. And in case of the roots, it is opposite, means protoxylem lies towards the periphery and metaxylem towards the pith area. Such type of arrangement is called the exarch condition. So exarch and end-arc, exarch condition is found in the roots and end-arc condition is found in the stems. Xylem constitutes formed by the fascicular cambium that constitutes the secondary xylem also. Secondary xylem is made by these fascicular cambium. These are the structure of this xylem vessels, xylem tracheids, xylem parenchyma. The structure is found in the different plants. Type of these structures is over here. These are the structure of xylem tissues. Next conduction tissue is known as the phloem tissue. Phloem is responsible for the transport of the organic substances, means the organic substances which is formed by the process of photosynthesis inside the plant tissue. So it is concerned with the transportation of these organic substances. It may be sugar in form of the sugar, starch, or sometimes in form of the protein also. So any types of plants, any type of substances, organic substances, that is going to transport it with the help of the phloem. Phloem is also composed of the sieve elements, the sieve tubes, companion cells, phloem parenchyma and phloem fibers. Means there is also a 4 type of cell that is composed the phloem complex tissue. One is the sieve tube or sieve elements, companion cells, phloem parenchyma and phloem fiber. 1, 2, 3, 4. These areas you can see here a type of the phloems. When we are going to cut down the transverse sections, we find that the position 1, 2, 6, 5, 6 areas that is found known as the phloem tissues. First one was the sieve tubes. It is formed by the elongated sieve tubes members, means cross wall having the number of perforations. Number of holes, number of very fine holes is there, and mature sieve tubes have the periphery cytoplasm there, and functions are controlled by the nucleus of the companion cells. These members are characteristically present in the angiosperm, means sieve tubes are totally present in the angiosperms, not in the other plant group. This is the sieve tube cases. Companion cell is there. You can find the sieve plates is there. Nucleus is also there, and sieve tube is also there. Responsible for the perforation of for the filtration of the photosynthates in this area, in this plant tissue. Second one was the sieve cells. Sieve areas are found to occur throughout the end wall and the lateral wall also. The cells are living but lack the nucleus. No nucleus is there in the sieve cells, and it is found in the lower vascular plant, not in the higher vascular plant, means bryophytes and other cells. And the plants, it is found vascular plants. These are the sieve plates, structure of the sieve plates, companion cells, and the sieve tubes is there. A plate-like structure there that is perforated for the filtration of the photosynthates or the any organic substances. Next is the companion cells. Companion cells is found in association with the sieve tube member. The sieve tube elements and companion cells are connected by the pit fields, means the pits are there in the field areas, and it helps the maintaining the pressure gradient. When the photosynthate is transported by these cells, it have to maintain the pressure of the ongoing photosynthetes, ongoing carbohydrates, or ongoing any organic substances. This is the structure of the sieve plate, and companion cell is also with the dense cytoplasm, and sieve tube is also there. This is the very fine and diagrammatic structure of the phloem tissue. The fourth type of cell is found in the phloem tissue, that is the phloem parenchyma, and cells are elongated and cylindrical, having the dense cytoplasm, and prominent nucleus is there, store the food material and other substance, but it is found only in the dicot plants. It is totally absent in the monocot plant. So parenchyma is not there, and this is the structure of the mature parenchymatous tissue of any phloem fibers. So phloem fibers, phloem parenchyma is there inside this bundle area. This structure is found for the storing purposes, ENPE, that is the storing purposes. it is used for the storing purposes. Last one is the phloem fibers. It is also known as the bast fibers. So found along with the other elements of the phloem also, very elongated and thick walled cell. But after the maturity it becomes the death, and it is absent in the primary phloem. First form the primary phloem, it is known as the protophlloem, and later it is known as the metaphloem. These elements formed by the fascicular cambium and constitute the secondary phloem also. So this is the structure of the phloem that conduct the water and sugar from the leaves to the other part. Phloem is responsible for that. The roots, stem, intercellular spaces, buds, flower and fruits also. This is the conductive and non-conductive two types of there. The sieve elements and companion cells is found in the pair. Sometimes parenchyma is also there. The sieve plate is also there. This is the diagrammatic representation of the phloem tissue, responsible to conduct the water and sugar from the leaves to the other part. So vice versa, from leaf to the other body part. This is all the total study about the plant tissue. Thank you and have a nice day.